that was created by the government when they allowed self-certification of buildings and allowed builders to cut corners. We all felt we had nowhere to turn. There was no information out there, no help, and we felt alone. When we got talking to each other and realised we had the same problems, the Not Our Fault campaign for 100% redress was created. We eventually got the government to agree that this was not our fault, and the government said they would give us 100% redress and retrospective for the people that had already remediated their buildings. This was great news to us all, but as they always say, the devil is in the detail. We were told that emergency funding and interim measures would be available to us affected homeowners until the scheme is up and running. And to date, here we are 91 days later and still no emergency funding is in place or interim measures. We were all given false hope that the government would step up and right the wrongs that were created for all affected homeowners, but today we are all living with the knock-on effects and financial consequences of the government not acting swiftly. We've had to endure insurance doubling in prices and excesses that we may as well not have any insurance at all. In some cases, levies were imposed on people who simply could not pay, and to date they are being threatened with legal action against them for something that was not their fault. People are still living with the fear that at any moment there could be a tragedy in one of these buildings through the government dragging their heels. The Minister promised the affected homeowners that he was going to get this sorted and give people their lives back. Our emails looking for updates on emergency funding have been ignored and unanswered. So the Minister is not treating the issue with the urgency it needs, and we are all still left in limbo. So this is why we are here today, again, to urge the Minister to step up and make our homes safe for everyone to live in. I'm joined today by some of the affected homeowners that have put themselves out in the public eye. They've been on television, radio, local and national newspapers, constantly campaigning for all the affected homeowners. So I would like to introduce you to some of those people today. I have Lorraine Carew from Brunashunna in County Clare, Barbara Allen from Hunterswood in Ballycullen, and Sam Doran from the Crescent Building in Park West. So over to you, Lorraine.
Hi, I don't really know the procedure, but I had my little spiel written out, but I've just come from a visit with my solicitor, who has informed me that I have absolutely no chance of winning a court case. I'm being pursued vigorously by our management committee because I won't pay the levy. It's quite disturbing when you think the government promised us, as Odette said, about 90 days ago, that they would help us out and they would step up to the plate. Unfortunately, they haven't done that. I had a letter on Monday from our management company telling me if I don't pay the 30,000 they reckon I owe them, which includes 18% compound interest over the last 4 years, that I will be in court by the end of the year. They will see me in court. I'll read you my little spiel. I don't know whether it makes any good now, but I bought in 2016, was given a fire cert, etc. by my engineer, told everything was okay, fire away, you can pursue it and purchase. Moving forward to 2017, at the AGM, we were told of the fire issues, and if we didn't pay, we would be taken to court. We needed to pay immediately, as the fire chief had issued notices on Brunashunna that it would be closed down. We were all in total shock. After a Freedom of Information request from the fire department, it transpired there in fact are no notices on Brunashunna. So this was all rubbish and scaremongering. Our OMC should have refused to take responsibility for the problems, handed it back to either the government or the council. If we had to be evicted, so be it. It was never going to be on the cards anyway. The OMC put in place fire marshals at a cost of 400,000 without any discussion with anyone. The fire department owners or occupiers of the apartments were not informed of any fire issues till approximately 6 months after the fire marshals came on site. So we lived there in ignorant bliss for 6 months till 2017. Three legal people between them can outvote all the owner-occupiers in our development. So we have no chance of ever passing anything, or one developer can do exactly the same. He has more votes than the whole of us put together. The OMC decided to call the fire debt a simple service charge, therefore allowing the OMC to charge interest and deny the non-payers their votes. It's a well thought out and orchestrated plan to strip owners, occupiers of their votes, protect investments of the big guys, not the small investors. We're basically bound and gagged, told shut up and pay up or your beneficiaries will do it for you. It seems to be very important to our OMC to let all the investors see that we are being taken to courts. This has been going on and hanging over us for the last 5 years. We have stood by our beliefs that we didn't owe the money, Some people have it to pay, some don't. It shouldn't really matter because in the end of the day we feel we don't owe it. As you all know, the OMCs were set up originally by the builders developers, therefore holding all the power. I'm 30,000 at the moment with, as I said, with compound interest of 18%. Even after the Minister's admission, on Monday I got another letter to say, if I don't pay this money in 14 days, there'll be no more discussion. I will be in court. And on this letter they have, as I said, now changed the debt. It's not a fire debt anymore. It's now called your service charge. So it looks like, in fact, you haven't paid your service charge at all. I'm up to date on my service charges, as is everybody that's in our group. I represent 80 people. A lot have already paid because they're investors and they feel they can write it off. Unfortunately, the owner-occupiers aren't afforded that privilege. There you go. That's my little spiel.
Thanks, Lorraine. Barbara?
Thanks everybody. Thanks for being here. I feel sick to my stomach actually listening to Lorraine. It's just such a horrendous situation that we find ourselves in as, I suppose, innocent, not even naive. I think we did everything that we tried to do, we should have done, I should say, when we bought our apartments and duplexes. We had all the right searches done, we had all the right surveys done. And as far as we were aware, these were good properties and that we would have a say in our own future. I represent Hunters Wood. There are 649 units in Hunters Wood. It's a mixture of houses, apartments, duplexes. And it's obviously the apartments and duplexes that have the issue around fire safety because they include common areas. To be perfectly honest, without them going and checking out, we're pretty sure the houses have the same issues because they were built by the same builder at the same time with the same materials for the same price, and they are all 3-storey terraced houses. There can be up to 14 houses on a terrace. I expect they don't have any fire stopping either, but because they're freeholders, that's their own business. That doesn't take from the safety issue that's involved. These people are living in that ignorance that you talked about, that we are now aware. At least I know I live in a tinderbox. At least I know at this stage I live in an apartment that if it goes up for any reason, I have basically no way out. The balconies in Hunters Wood were removed because they had structural issues, which is also part of the Not Our Fault campaign. The major issue, I suppose, at the moment, though, is the fire stopping. That's where the serious injury to life lies. And I really don't believe the government is taking this seriously. I looked at a programme there that RTE reran a few weeks ago about Priory Hall. And it was a really in-depth programme and it was heartbreaking. And at the end of it I watched the then Taoiseach, who was Enda Kenny, and he said into the cameras for RTE, this is an incredibly horrible situation. This should never ever happen to another homeowner in this country, and we're going to make sure it doesn't. Well, it has, and it is. It's happening right now. Like every night when I turn out the light going to bed, I don't know if I'm going to wake up in the morning. That's the simple issue. Even if the fire alarm goes off, if the fire is in a strategic place in the building, I can't get out. I live on the 4th storey, there's no jumping out any windows, the balconies have been removed, and that's the situation we find ourselves in. What we're looking for now, the government had promised us 100% redress, and I went and I stood in front of the AGM of Hunters Wood, which had a huge attendance at it, and in front of the board, 7 members, and in front of the managing agent, and I told them that everything was going to be okay, because on the 18th of January it was announced that we would get 100% redress. I'm now answering emails and texts saying, what's going on, Barbara? What can I say? I don't know. And I don't know because our emails to the Minister, to his offices, are just simply not being answered. It's that simple. Don't have any response. We were told at a webinar, which is, it's a ridiculous really means of communication, because you've no way of actually speaking or having your opinion heard. We were told a webinar with the Minister on, what date was it? The end of January, was it? No, February, the middle of February. 16th of February, something like that. Don't quote me on the date, I don't know. But he told us categorically that by April there would be a forum set up which would include a proper portal to the housing agency, where we would all be able to get on and we would be able to register our estates, our developments, the issues that we have, and what the absolute emergency situations were. I don't know about anybody else, but I certainly haven't heard about any portal that's supposed to be happening. So that's another just something that hasn't been acted on. I'm not going to say it's a lie, I'm sure it's not a lie. But what I do believe is it's just not happening. We were promised emergency funding. We have emergency issues within Hunters Wood due to the fire issues, stuff we've had to do to keep the fire officer happy. We're paying absolutely exorbitant insurance premiums with excesses that are insane. Like, we've an excess of 150,000. So really what our insurance covers is catastrophe, as in the building actually burns to the ground entirely with no way of saving it, and we still have to come up with 150,000 of an excess. So we're effectively not insured. If we have something small that goes on that costs 30 grand or 40 grand, we're not insured. But what's happening with the insurance is, because we have to pay those rates now, it comes out of our fund. So simple things like fixing the roof in a building, or being able to cut down trees that are dangerous, or all the normal day-to-day things that we have to fund in a development, we can't do because we've spent all our money on insurance. This is why we need emergency funding. We need emergency funding for all of those huge bills that are part of these structural and fire defects that are absolutely not our fault. So this is the problem. This is what we're doing today. We're trying to say to the Minister, will you please listen to us? Will you please hear that we are suffering through very, very dangerous situations? You've promised us redress, and we're thankful for that. But we need to fix certain things now. That down the road just isn't good enough. I go to bed, as I said, every night in a dangerous situation. My daughter, my neighbours, our pets. We don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow okay. And it's just simply not good enough anymore. So that's what we're asking for. We're asking to be heard. We've asked for meetings face to face over and over again, which have been ignored. We write every week. There's somebody from Hunters Wood, I know the Crescent do, Hunters Wood, we write every single week looking for an interview to be heard. Just so that we can say, these are the immediate issues, can you please help us with this? I can't really add any more to it. The fear people are living in, the threat that's hanging over us. The good news with Hunters Wood is we have managed to rein in our managing agent. Something that really needs to be addressed in this country is the power of the managing agent. The OMC, I know in your situation it's made up of developers, not necessarily, the board. In our development, the board is made up of some wonderful, wonderful hard-working residents who are very dynamic and really working their way through this without levies, by the way. Hunters Wood decided we weren't going to vote on levies, so we didn't, and we don't have levies, which means it can be done without levies. There's no need for it. What Bruna Shinna are going through is criminal, really. They're only short of having a gun and a mask, really. So, but that is at the power of the managing agent. And until managing agents are reined in this country, they're not professionals. Most of them are just office workers. And they've been trumped up so that they can handle literally millions and millions of euros on behalf of us. That they can decide which contractor goes in. We get no say in it. We don't even get a tender process. So, I mean, it's really very, very dodgy. I'm not going to say corrupt because I don't have the evidence for that, but it's very, very dodgy situation, and they need to be reined in. That's one of the emergency issues that needs to happen to stop what's happening in Brúna. A managing agent is supposed to be there to look after the needs of the residents. They're not. The managing agents are looking after their own via the OMC boards and developers' needs, and the resident is being left to fight their own battles against battles they're never going to win. So I'm going to leave it there.
And just in terms of the emergency funding, you might just explain to me what that's kind of needed for. Would that be for emergency, kind of the highest level emergency kind of fire safety work?
It's for stuff we've had to pay for up front before Redress has actually. I don't know where Redress is at the moment. It's on the longest finger somewhere. But we've had to pay for all sorts of fire issues, upgrading fire systems. One of the major things is insurance. The insurance fund is ridiculous at this stage. The Minister did say he would step in and help, but again, we haven't heard any evidence of that.
Emergency funding is mostly supposed to be there to safeguard the people.
Yeah.
That emergency funding is to consist of the emergency exits that people can evacuate the building.
Okay.
In the lines of where there's hallways and things like that, and corridors, common areas, that they're secured and safe, that people can get out of it.
Yeah.
And we've had to pay for, and we need to pay for things in order to do that. But we don't have the funds, because the OMCs at this stage are broke, essentially.
Super, that's very nice. Thanks, well.
Sam, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm not going to go back and recap over everything what those ladies there passed on to you. We certainly have problems. Myself and my wife, we had a meeting with the Minister on the 22nd of February. We went in, we discussed all these issues with him. He told us that there would be emergency funding in place. I said, can I have the number? And he said, how do you mean? I said, the phone number to ring for emergency funding. I said, in an emergency you dial 999 or 112 and you get a rapid response. Oh, I don't have a number for you. I said, how do I get the funding? Well, there will be checks and balances and we need to put a system in place. So the biggest problem I see, and I'm an ordinary guy and I call a spade, our biggest problem at the moment is the Minister. The Minister for lack of action, the lack of doing anything. When you listen to the news today and saying there's a 10 billion underspent, I've been told by him, I've been told by the Department of Finance that the money is there, but they don't have a mechanism in place to go ahead. We're representing 100,000 owners, which would probably equate to about 500,000 people, 5 people per property. If you take the likes of apartments, you've underground car parks, and if there's a fire in that car park, 9 out of 10 car parks do not have an alarm system in them, because if they're not below ground level, they don't have to have one. If there's a fire there and it starts in the car and it spreads to another car or whatever, it's underneath 6-7 stories high. In most cases, they say people, it's the smoke that kills them, not the flames, because the smoke will come up through the buildings while they're asleep. In our case, if there's a fire in one of those apartments, it's the government that's killing the people, because they've known about this since 2011 when they evacuated Priory Hall. Yeah. This is not a new problem. And to listen to this crap that they need time to get a system, it is crap, because they're dealing with this for 12, 13 years. Like back then in 2011, in 2013, then one poor individual took his life over the stress and strain he was in. There's people here today and their mortgages have gone up severely with the interest rates. The cost of living has gone up, and then with this thing and putting levies on them, I have spoken to people, and one person in particular said to me, I pity I don't live on the top floor. And I said to her, but sure, how would that make any difference? It's 68,000. She said, if I was on the top floor, I could throw myself off the balcony. Now, you know what I mean? And I do know of people that are on medication and the whole lot. But as far as I can see, like last week over there, they had the president there, which was great for Ireland and the whole lot. And listen to him giving speeches, it came from a different level. He talked all the time about respect and dignity. We are getting no respect from our representatives over there. And like, it is a disgrace. Like, if he was in private enterprise, or Ryanair, he runs a great business, love him or like it, he can get the planes off the bloody ground. Darragh O'Brien wouldn't be in his office for 5 minutes because he doesn't do anything. And he is our biggest problem at the moment. Not only us, housing, the whole lot. I suppose the only thing we can say is, thanks be to God he's not the Minister for Finance, because every department will be crippled with the way he carries on. So, like, he's not fit for purpose, and he won't wake up and do something. But I've said it to him before, and I want to land it right back at his feet. Is he waiting for another tragedy? Because I'm not going to say I'll be sleeping well at night, but I'll be sleeping easier than him, because I'm out there every week protesting. I've done everything I can for the people here and to help these 500,000 people, but he certainly has done damn all. So sorry for being so blunt, but that's the way I feel.
You're right. That's where we are.
Super.
Thank you. Thanks.